S-E-H-U-N. Who knows Sharon's last name, guys?
Is she here?
Okay.
She's here, yeah.
Tasha?
What's that? She just move something from the. I'm gonna tell you.
Help you. Oh. So. I can just, I'll just repost your own. 1 second, you cancel.
Yes. I just need to pay.
Okay,
You will?
Yeah.
What's yours?
I'll repost this one. I'll share it.
So, live, can you no, I'm talking about. Okay, you guys move back a little bit to the wall, please? Thank you, so that we
can you come with this one?
That's your output.
Yeah, just for this one, I'm putting it up now. I just want to see the temperature. Okay. Yes, good afternoon and welcome to Voice of Africa Radio. It's now 9:01 evening time in Toronto, Canada. I have with me Mr. Omoyele Sowore. He's a president aspirant in the next coming election in Nigeria in 2019. He's been going around trying to initiate us to his movement. We are happy to welcome you to the studio. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for bringing me to Voice of Africa Radio. Okay. Toronto.
Toronto, yes, sir. Thanks for coming. But before I go, one of the things I always like to do, because I know that in putting these things together, there are quite a number of people who are working behind the scenes that to make it to be possible. So I like to just quickly thank them. I don't know how the program normally goes, so I like to thank Mr. Musadik Abdul, Abiodun Salami, Chidi Nwaya of Window Media, Dr. Leke Badmos, Sheun Daniels, Sheun Awubusoyi, Emmanuel Marco, Peju, Chidi Uchechuku, Andrew Enofe, Kenny Bazwaye, and Naomi Sigi Spon. I'm sure there are quite a number of other people that are doing, but I'd like to thank them for making this thing to be fruitful, to come into fruition. We can actually talk now. So let's go straight to it, because I know quite a number of people are waiting for you at the reception tonight at the same time.
Yes.
So the first question I'd like to put to you, I was looking at it, I said, okay, this man wants to join politics right now, and he wants to become the president of Nigeria. We have Boko Haram issues, we have the Fulani herdsmen, we have the ritual killings, we have the kidnapping, we have poor food security and everything. And I'm wondering, what's the motivation for your decision to want to join this kind of a group to take all these problems with you?
Motivation is very simple. I got to a point where I became very tired and sick of leadership in the country, and having myself fought over almost 30 years. By next year it would have been 30 years since I started as an activist at the University of Lagos, where I was a freshman in 1989. So by 1999, 10 years after that, that's a decade later, I left Nigeria but had achieved at least one goal: the transition from military rule to a civilianized type of governance. And after that, did several other things, including setting up Sahara Reporters, and Sahara Reporters had helped intervene within the body politic of Nigeria to stop stuff like Tottenham, expose a lot of corruption going on with governors, and also gotten involved with helping, again in 2015, part of our duty was to help create an enabling environment for a party-to-party transition also, which strengthened the democratic experiment immensely. So next year will be 20 years after the civilian rule came into being.
Right.
And I just said to myself, I cannot keep reporting on elections that let's roll and thieves into office.
Well, okay, I know, I understand, but let me put it this way.
Yes.
In 2015,
Yes.
Buhari was a media candidate. The media actually catapulted him into office, and you cannot excite yourself. He was like your candidate. Sahara reporters actually promoted him. Everybody, Jonathan was demonized.
No, that's not true. Look, the person who was responsible for bringing Buhari to power is just only one person.
Who's that?
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
It was Jonathan's performance, his lackluster governance that made everybody say most people actually didn't campaign for Buhari. It was something we used to refer to as anything but Jonathan. You know.
No, we all know that the beneficiary was going to be Buhari.
Well, it could have been a goat. People have voted for him. That's how much I know at that time.
So when exactly did you decide that, okay, you had enough, that this, you are going to be part of the system? When did you come to that conclusion?
Maybe it's not the right thing to say that I'm going to be part of the system. I want to go and disrupt the system as it is now.
Well, yeah, when did you decide that, okay, you had enough of these people since 1989 till 99, and in 20 years this civilian rule, that, okay, I think I want to be part of this thing. I want to join it, not just to talk about it, but actually to be a participant. When did you come? I mean, to run for presidency is not an easy decision to make. You know that.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about it, especially since 2015 May 29. I went to Buhari's inauguration, and I said, "Wow, these guys are not prepared for governance."
What did you see?
I arrived there, and by the time they left the ceremonies, there was nobody in charge. So I thought to myself, they probably thought somebody else was still in charge.
On the first day, you were able to realize that?
I granted an interview after that in the Punch. It's available online.
Okay.
And I said, this guy's a mess. And started thinking at that point that anything next has to be some revolutionary movement that will take them out completely. And but it wasn't until about maybe 3 months ago that I started to have pressure from people to say, you know, there's an undercurrent within the Nigerian political scene that a younger, reliable, trusted, and a young person with integrity be allowed to run for office. And I was actually initially looking at the other young candidates.
Vibrant someone.
Yes, hoping to find a vibrant person because I have very little temperament for
there's Fela
politics.
that is talking right
exactly.
now.
So
and
as Mogalu,
yes.
You know, in fact, I set up in my office in Lagos that any young person should be granted interview as soon as they pop out, and we were doing that. And you know, I came across other young people who said, "Look, these other guys are not inspiring them the way they want them to. Why don't you come out?" And since I had in my mind that I could try it, I just came out 6 weeks ago, or maybe less than 2 months ago was when I first came out. I had a small rally in Lagos. I mean,
that was big.
Town hall meeting. It was my return to Lagos after the town hall meeting. That was really huge. And when I came here, you know, my friends in Maryland said, "Why don't we have something in Maryland?" Because then I think Fela had just had a town hall meeting with 30 people. And they said, "Oh, we could pull more people." And we went there and it was over 200 people. And people from there said, you know, a pastor sent a message to us while we were there and said, "Why don't you come to my church?" I haven't been in a church in a long time, I have to be honest.
Are you a Christian?
I just believe that religion should not be something that...
I'm just asking, I mean, I'm just asking.
I was born a Christian.
Okay.
So I haven't carried a Christian name. You know, but my religion is humanity. It's like kindness. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let's move forward. You know that in Nigeria, there is no independent candidacy. It's not allowed constitutionally.
Yeah.
So you have to run under a platform.
That's right.
And PDP, APC, they've become strongholds in Nigeria. I'm not so sure which platform you're gonna be running.
I've ruled it out.
Okay, so which
I will
party?
never be with PDP.
You understand? We are talking about.
So we're talking about easily. We're talking about coalition of parties. There are 68 political parties in Nigeria.
Right.
If we can get, 66 of them, I'll be happy. But so far we have 5 of them who are talking vigorously with us to adopt our candidate as their candidate. So it means that we have to fly under one of the parties.
That's what I mean,
we
because
cannot do a merger at this time.
the merger is
it's too late in the game.
It's so late in the day.
So,
for
but
the
one
merger.
of the parties will fly and the others will support. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so others, which means you are going to collapse some structures into one party.
Well, so that's why we are pushing this through movement politics, because we don't want a situation where we lose the integrity and the focus of our movement. We already know what we want to go and do when we are elected into office. Any party we join, we are taking our DNA with us into that party.
Okay, talking of those, what you like to do. Strictly speaking, there are myriads of problems in Nigeria. I mean, we can spend the next 3 days talking about every single problem, but there has to be some, maybe 4 key programs. Which one do you think is important that needs to take place if you, become the president?
We've spelled them out in what we call SPICER HE, and our first will be security.
Security, okay.
The land is bleeding as we speak. Nigerian land is bleeding with, real human blood. Herdsmen killing, Boko Haram killings, kidnappers, armed robbers. The government itself killing, you've heard about the killing of Shiites. So that has to be a major. And when we talk about security too, there's also national security, which includes that, our infrastructures that support the system are also well protected. Pipelines, power lines, all those things. And when you resolve this, the next best thing is to go for power. If Nigeria were to have power, it would unleash itself on, the creativity and innovation of the innovative power of Nigerian mind. It's just waiting to attain its potential if there's electricity. Power in particular. Infrastructure, there's no way you can move the country to prosperity without infrastructure. And one of the things we said we'll do is that we'll turn Nigeria into just a, what do we call a construction site, basically, where we're building power lines, we're building roads, bridges, we're building schools. We need 70 million units of housing in Nigeria to get to where we can say that we're taking care of shelter for our people. We have economy to deal with, but what is economy? What Nigeria has been having is like PowerPoint economics.
It's supposed to be the largest economy in Africa.
Exactly. They rebase it, underbase it. It's all a lie. The Nigerian economy as it is now, it's an economy that works for a few people. It's not, you can't call that an economy. It's a rent-seeking economy where people walk around with briefcases. It's a country where you have contractors and there are no builders. So we want that economy to work for Nigerian people, to increase their purchasing power, to increase their ability to also determine their own future. And those economies cannot be subjected to the vagaries of economics. For example, we want to pay workers 100,000 naira per month. Right now, Nigeria is the lowest. Nigerian workers are the lowest paid in Africa, except the war-torn countries or countries that have been said to have failed.
We have the highest paid legislators now.
Yes, exactly. So we want to change that. One of my wish when I become president is to abolish the Senate. It's a waste of space. It's a coven of thieves.
Okay. I don't want to go into that right now. Let me take you up on the security and power that you just talked about. Okay, security.
We have health and education.
We'll come to that. I just want to take you up since I don't want to go too far. On that issue of security.
Yes.
Now, if you realize that, security, you still talk about Nigerian Armed Forces, all this. Even a former chief of defense staff, chief of army staff, has accused the same security personnel of colluding against Nigerian people.
He came too late to the game. See, as of 2000.
Who are the security personnel that you are going to use if there are accusations against them right now?
The question you should ask yourself was, when EFCC was working, where did they get the policemen that were helping out with fighting corruption? It's the same police force. You see, the leadership has to inspire people who are good to come out. what has been keeping our nation in crisis that army generals who are fighting a war are not interested in ending Boko Haram. And so many of them are aiding and abetting criminal activities. We've been saying this forever. Even when the Niger Delta crisis was going on, it was from Kaduna that army generals were selling weapons to militants in the Niger Delta region. So, except you purge the army of these generals, they know them. If you ask around, they'll tell you who they are. When Shekau was supposed to have been killed about 2 months ago, according to BBC, this is not Sahara reporters, that's why you don't say it's biased. They said an army general called just as the time they had him under surrounded, that they should not kill him. So, and you know how after Buhari came to power, before his own people started stealing, how army generals that were fighting Boko Haram, they were found with millions of dollars inside sewage, tankers, water tanks, under their pillow, cooking pots, everywhere. Because monies that were meant to buy weapons were being stolen.
Before I come to the issue of that corruption, let's quickly talk about this power. Obasanjo spent 16 billion in 8 years, and it's like we're investing in the darkness. Actually,
that's
nothing actually.
That's correct. Yeah.
So, how do you intend to go about it?
You see, the problem with Obasanjo was that anytime Nigerian government officials want to steal, they will go for just one thing that they know would never work. How do people increase their consumption of power these days? Is to put in an energy mix in there. Morocco just did it. Morocco is now supplying power to Malta and France. How did they do it? They use just solar to increase their power base by 4,500 megawatts. But 4,500 megawatts of electricity. The northern Nigeria is booming with the same solar power that could be harnessed. And not only will this increase national security, by the way, it will provide employment, because just to put the pieces together for 4,500 megawatts of electricity, you're going to need no less than 1 million people working. And that will solve a lot of problems in this very poor but vast area of Nigeria. So that's to increase in energy mix. If you go to Ogoniland, there are over 9.3 to about 9.9 billion cubic feet of gas. But we have to clean up Ogoniland first before we can go after that to power gases there. There's coal in Enugu, and the U.S. today is using 10% of coal to generate electricity.
The world probably is moving out of corruption, but out of coal. But I'm just giving those examples. Assuming you need to. Every region is able to produce a source of power. Okay, let's stay on that. The investment has to be corruption free. Everybody in Nigeria talks about corruption. Yeah. Even we all know corruption, and it's become something that it's difficult to deal with. Now let's look at it.
It's not difficult to deal with.
Well, we practice presidential system of government whereby everybody's in government. Now, to my understanding, quite a number of bills have been sent by the executive to the Senate,
yes,
which is never dealt with. They just throw it aside. And even if you become president today, how do you deal with a constitutionally body that says no to you? Like, even if it's unicameral, how do you deal with it? What's your plan?
One thing you should understand is that the Senate of Nigeria is meant for Nigerians. Okay. Nigerians are not meant for the Senate. The reason why they are waxing so strong these days is that the commander-in-chief of the armed forces is very weak. That's President Buhari.
Okay.
He even allowed...
Do you think he's weak or overwhelmed?
No, it's whichever one it is. Weakness is weakness. How somebody overwhelms? It's because they are weak. They can't confront the realities of it.
He couldn't figure out where to start.
I don't think he had the capacity to run the country. But instead of admitting and just stepping aside, look at what they're doing now. He even wants to do another 4 years, which is an insult, because you don't perform so woefully and then start gallivanting around asking people to reward you for your failure. So that's where we are. And it's the same thing that is happening across the country. But let's go back to the Senate or the National Assembly. The reason why they don't approve of budgets or laws because they have to put in their own, it has to benefit them directly. And President Buhari could have used his anti-corruption war to whip a lot of the thieves there. Like I told you, Nigeria don't need a Senate. I can mention at least half of the senators who are thieves. And I'm saying it categorically. They know me. I say that to their face. I just went by Nigeria, or traveled in Nigeria recently, and I didn't miss words about it. But when you allow such individuals to be making laws, lawbreakers who are making laws for Nigerians, then it's a sad thing. And when you say allow, the moment you find the lawmaker to be corrupt, you don't spare them by playing politics with them. But what did Buhari do? Any moment you join the APC, you are a saint. Anytime you are not, you become a criminal. They what I call the deodorization of criminals.
If you're listening to, I'm talking to a presidential aspirant in Nigeria coming 2019 elections, Mr. Omoyele Sowore.
Yes.
We've been having, now let's go back to the issue of the party politics.
Yes.
It takes a lot of money.
Yes.
The funding part.
Yes.
Some people have been talking and say there has to be some people money bags that are behind you that are trying to, maybe because they've not been put in key positions, they don't want to sponsor you to disrupt this whole system, that they don't believe you have the money. So how is the funding coming up? And
this is part of what is wrong with the way we think about solving our problems sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So what did I do when I started this? I reached out and I made it transparently clear that I just need, for a start, 10,000 Nigerians donating $200 and we'll get $2 million right away. I've been in Nigeria I came to the US this morning and now I'm in Canada. I've been in Nigeria for 23 days non-stop, arriving there April 3rd and left yesterday night. And what happened, while I was out there, people were donating to us. I think we received almost $25,000. The goal is $2 million, right? And we're spending that money to do town hall meetings, transporting ourselves around. And we discovered that since we are not branding rice and Ankara and all those nonsense they do, it's so cheap. But another thing you should understand is that we have a huge diaspora community, and I want to appeal to them that they can fund this.
You have a website that people can donate to?
Yeah, you go to GoFundMe/Sowore 2019, and there you can donate whatever you have. You can donate $2 and you can donate up to 1,000 or more. There's no limit to what you can donate to us. If you have people in Toronto alone doing that, we'll have enough money to do another.
I'd like you to repeat that again. GoFundMe/Sowore.
GoFundMe.com/Sowore 2019.
Okay, so let me repeat that. So that please, if you are being initiated to this movement to make a change in Nigeria, the website to go if you want to donate anything, and it's just said it right now. If it's $1 you have, it's $2, if it's 10, if it's 100, whatever you have to support this movement, go to GoFundMe.com/Sowore 2019.
Yes.
If you can spell it, that is the last name is SOWORE 2019. I got it right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Right.
So let me move to something else.
So I just want to answer that. So
Sure.
as a result, we don't rely on godfathers or godmothers, and this movement is going to dislodge all the godmothers and godfathers and their godsons and goddaughters. That's our agenda.
The agenda is to dislodge
all of
the
them.
dislodgeables.
Yes.
Okay. Well, security. When you are in Unilag,
Yes.
you are almost killed once.
That's correct.
And so you understand it.
I was almost killed several times.
Several times. Okay. But there was a particular one that was very, very bad. I believe I listened to it. Even it was some people sent by even the commissioner of police to actually eliminate you, and you're lucky to be alive, and we're happy that that's why you are here right now, because there's still a lot of things for you to do. Now, when you went to see the MF Kano,
Yes.
he said something like that.
Yeah.
That
I might get
I
might get arrested.
You get arrested, and are you taking care of yourself? So what's coming on that front?
No, you see, when you're doing what is right, people understand what is right, and people are looking for who is right and who is righteous. I don't want to use the word righteous because it will sound religious, and this is something I'm staying away from, religion. But we've been everywhere. We've been to Kano, Kaduna, Benin, Owerri, Onitsha, and we've never been anywhere with the police. Not a single policeman. Nobody carrying a knife. And we've never been attacked because people come to us. In Kaduna, for example, they took light. They stayed until they brought back light. They came and they were using their, no way, they were using their phone touch to keep the speech I was giving going, students. So some of the places we went to, if we were regular politicians, we would spend 50 million naira and we'll be there with maybe 50 mobile policemen, gun-toting, well-armed policemen, and probably have to beat people up and all that. But we chose not to go that route. This is not to say that over time we will not need some form of security, but the biggest security we can have is our conscience.
I'd like to quickly touch on two issues. I know that some people are still waiting for you at a dinner reception tonight.
Yes.
And tomorrow we're going to be having a town hall meeting at Etobicoke Civic Center. It starts at 12 noon. Please, if you have the opportunity to come there to talk to Omoyele Sowore tomorrow, please make it a date at 12 noon at Etobicoke Civic Center. Let me ask you this, because these are two key things that somebody just dropped to me: health and education.
Yes.
I mean, our hospitals are almost becoming mortuaries. Education, you have people going for 4 years program, it translates into 6 years. And even if you come out, you've talked about the economy anyway, but what do you have in mind to deal with this epileptic education and hospitals becoming mortuaries now?
So it's the same thing. This is the same story across the country. Everything is broken in Nigeria, and the people are broke. But here is the solution that we have. For example, see, health is no longer just physical structures anymore. You've heard about telemedicine. You've heard about all kinds of medical interventions that can help Nigerians, including our doctors who are abroad, who have retired, who want to come home, but they don't have an enabling environment to come home because they're afraid of kidnappers. In fact, before you get to the kidnappers, then you have to deal with the immigration people harassing you, the customs seizing your, stethoscope and all that because they want to extort money from you. So until we create an enabling environment, we're not going to get there. But here is our solution to the health issues: is to devolve health. The same way, politicians are always talking about devolution of power, but we don't want to talk about power. We want to devolve health. We want to devolve education. I promise, for example, that there should be no reason why each of the local governments cannot have their community colleges, so that people who just want to have an associate degree of 2 years to be a clerk in court, an accountant, can just go there. If they so wish later to have a whole degree to themselves, they go to universities that have them. Our primary school system, secondary school system should be free, completely free from, not even PTA parent-teachers association fees should be extracted from them. But we'll make it compulsory for kids to go to school by building the structures and also using technology as part of our educational progress. We need to completely, for example, even change our curriculum so that people can understand their own culture more than they understand the culture of other places. When I did geography when I was in secondary school, my first priority was to know all the American lakes, as opposed to finding out which lakes were around me. Meanwhile, I grew up beside a lake, but it's not in Nigeria's geography book. It is the American lakes that I'm more interested in, because our education system is very neo-colonial. Look at us still learning about Lord Lugard. I mean, who's Lord Lugard? Lord Lugard is the guy who came to Nigeria, and named Nigeria what it is today because she had a girlfriend who was a, people call her a prostitute. And they were so lazy, they said, oh, just call it the Niger area. You know what? It used to be called the Slave Coast.
Okay. Okay.
No, for real.
I do very much understand that, and I understand that.
But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that you asked very pertinent questions about health and education.
Yes.
But I'm just bringing it home that, it's also important to mention that these two areas require investment and more investment.
Right.
UNESCO says put 26% of your budget in education. 26% of our budget is spent, more than 26% of our budget is spent on overhead costs of senators who are doing nothing. We should put that in education. That's why I want to abolish the Senate.
Okay.
And take the money, which is about 1.3 trillion naira, put it in education. Build more universities, build more classrooms for kids, bring in technology into the classroom. For example, people ask me, why don't you build a library? And I had to explain to them that there used to be a building full of books, but we have now reached a point in the world with the help of technology where you can have books that are full of libraries. Right? But nobody is thinking about that progressively in Nigeria, that a small device, tablet, can contain 5 libraries or more.
I've been
you have been warned by producers.
No, that the time is going and everything. But let me ask, I have 2 questions really before you go. Now, Nigeria today.
Yes.
Nigeria today. Is there a living politician in Nigeria today that you can call a role model?
None.
None.
Do you know what it means to be called
a
politician?
I need to ask the question. That's an indictment on the whole Nigerian politics.
If I could find out, I'm a straight shooter.
Okay, the last question I'd like to ask you is this. In 2007, there's a Nigerian here in Canada who have these dreams of becoming the president in Nigeria too. His name by Issa Odidi.
Okay.
He actually formed a political party. The only one party formed outside Nigeria, and he actually even go all the way to Supreme Court to act that we have the right to run. He went, and you have to understand the sacrifices and everything. But by the time he went, and I mentioned one guy named there, one of his apostles was Abiodun Salami, who actually went to, and they sacrificed and they ran for office. By the time they see the rot and the decay, the passion wins. I want to ask you this movement that you've just created, regardless of the outcome, has it come to stay?
It has come to stay already. If nothing happens even after today, things are not going to be the same again. The young people,
you prepare to keep leading it?
Of course, the young people have woken up. There's no going back. But let me quickly answer Issa Odidi's thing. Issa Odidi, I heard it, an entrepreneur here. I never met him, but he made a fundamental mistake, and that one mistake is a historically unforgivable mistake. He went to Nigeria riding on the wing of Babangida, and I caught him on that. Because I reported on it. You cannot say that you want to go and clean up Nigeria and Babangida is your role model. And I hope that he will hear me out on this one. I'm calling him out on radio that his fundamental mistake going into politics was riding on the back of the thief.
Let's put it this way: the passion with him was to
go to Nigeria. You can't have a passion to go and fix Nigeria, and the person who's your role model is a thief.
Babangida was never part of the.
No, party. I'm telling you, I followed this out. I followed him very well. My only disagreement with him was that you can't go to Nigeria and go and fix Nigeria. And the person who's your role model, or the person you seriously want to be with, is somebody who ruined the country, who stole $12 billion in one first trip, and you said to me that you want to fix Nigeria. So that agenda was dead on arrival.
Okay. Anyway, I know that we still have a town hall meeting tomorrow, and please let me explain to everybody. It's going to be at Etobicoke Civic Center. Please be there. It starts at 12 noon. We're going to be on time. I'd like to thank you for coming in. I'll be there tomorrow. and please, everybody. And again, let me thank all those people that have put it together. If you didn't hear me the first time, those people that have been able to, they're working behind the scenes to make sure that this movement comes to stay, and they're able to invite in. The names are Musede Kaddo, Abiodun Salami, Chidi Nwaya of Window Media, Dr. Leke Worship Media, Dr. Leke Badmos, Sheun Daniels, Sheun Awobusoye, Emmanuel, Marco, Peju, Chidi Uchechukwu, Andrew Enofe, Kenny Bazwaye, Naomi Sigismund. And my name is Michael. Thanks for watching the program, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And I must thank all the organizers, please. Thank you so much.
Take it back.
Take it back.
Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Oh, take it back. So we see. We don't tire. We no go green. We no go green. Oh, we no go green. We don't tire. We no go green.
So if you thought that the Lagos crowd is active, you can see what's happening everywhere. Nigerians are saying enough is enough everywhere. Oh yeah.
Thank you all for watching. This is our next president of Nigeria. Make sure you look up for him, vote for him.
We do pictures tomorrow.
Thank you.
I won't be coming. So
just want to use the background.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's true.
You want to take pictures with them? You want to take pictures? I will be the first. Okay.
You want to do the first?
Okay, just video.
Okay, are you coming out or is it going to go?
She said she's going to be the first, so we don't want to fight. Alright, so they will ban me here from tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, so.
Oh.
Okay, guys.
Let me know.
Wait, hold on. The official photography, please.
We'll do this picture taking tomorrow, please.
Let's
The restaurant
Is about to
But he's going to take with the host now. At least now, if you guys take. If you guys don't
These guys have been waiting.
Yes,
And the outfit.
it's a button up there. See, people are telling me, don't take it without it. So yeah, when you see me and the president.
Yes, now. So take it back.
Take it back.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, let's go, guys. Let's go. Thank you very much. Let's go. Yes, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go in.
Thank you so much.
I can find your camera.
over.
This is my opportunity to take picture with the president.
We want to go to the reception.
Let's come.
You go now.
Let's
Go now.
I
need a picture with my future president.
Thank you.
just there already.
Shall
2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2
we
minutes.
need to go.
2 minutes. The president have to eat, yeah?
The president
2 minutes.
Where am I pressing here?
I've not eaten today.
Where am I pressing here? Oh, the one right here. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Where you go?
Okay, please use your camera.
Mike. Okay, there.
Okay. They have to go.
Okay.
Okay, I promise you guys tomorrow no picture.
This is my president. I'm going to take him to Josh.
Okay. Put up the lights so that we know that we are going.
All camera here.
Camera here. Yes.
All camera here. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Okay, guys, let's go.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just snap away.
Just zoom in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, that microphone costs $10,000.
Oh my. Okay.
I'm telling you, Sarah Polas can tell you that how much it costs.
Excuse me.
Our president will pay. Okay. Anyone wants?
Okay, guys. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yeah, tomorrow I'll be there. We'll,
Check who was
Thank you.